Welcome to Leadership Talks. I'm Elizabeth George, Director of Membership with the AGO, and with me today is Chris Cook, who is the Dean of the San Diego chapter, and Ron Jesse, who is their Membership Coordinator. So the three of us met, I want to say about a month ago, and I learned about their IN-SPIRE membership initiative, which to me, I got so excited when I heard about it. I felt it was important for everyone at the AGO to hear about, because it encompasses every facet of membership that engages a member and makes them active within their chapter. So the first thing is, what I think we need to know is, Ron, what does IN-SPIRE stand for?
Well, actually, I guess we would pronounce it IN-SPIRE.
Excuse me, IN-SPIRE.
No, that's fine. And I think IN-SPIRE is an acronym that many organizations have probably used. But this one is spelled IN-SPIRE, and it kind of has a double entendre. In other words, many of us are church musicians, and so we are practicing our craft within the spire. That's part of it. But the other part of it is, of course, how do we inspire our work in the AGO, our local chapter, and the national chapter? So IN-SPIRE stands for a number of things. First of all, the IN stands for investigate. And we're going to cover a lot of these issues as we talk more deeply about IN-SPIRE. But I'm just going to gloss over real quickly what the acronym stands for. Okay. So IN-SPIRE is investigate, and that is to look at our current members, see who they are, and just kind of check out where we are. To look at former members and to see why our former members are no longer with us. And the third place is to really kind of harvest prospective members, to look at people who maybe aren't in the guild now and maybe should be in the guild. So that's the IN piece of it. The S is for select, and that is looking at target audiences. Who are our target audiences for our work? And so to do that, we look at our demographics, we look at age, workplace, interests, experience, kind of get a demographic sweep of who we are and who we really want to be. We want to cover all bases and be an open organization for all people. So that's the select piece. The prepare piece, the P in IN-SPIRE, brings us to visioning sessions where we kind of prepare ourselves by looking at where we are and gathering groups together across a variety of demographics to see what it might look like for us to become a more relevant organization and to build our membership and to build an infrastructure within the organization. The I stands for initiate, and that is to provide membership, with some incentives. Why do I want to join? What are the initiatives that will make me feel a part of this organization? The R stands for relate. So how do we relate to our members? How do we track attendance, and how do we follow up? How do we make personal contacts, and how do we make the guild personal and meaningful to all of our members? And finally, the E stands for educate. How do we keep up with the great educational initiatives that we're involved in right now, and most of our chapters are involved in, but how do we take a step beyond that and look at how maybe we build a fan base for the organ in our community? Yes, we have our people that we're looking to educate to become future organists, but we also are delving into what it takes to build a fan base in a community where a lot of people have never seen or heard a pipe organ. And so the education piece becomes very important to that whole process. Now, I know that was a lightning look at IN-SPIRE, but I know also that as we talk further in this conversation, we're going to track back through some of this stuff and get down into the nitty-gritty.
So, Chris, tell me, how did your board come to the decision that you wanted to initiate this? What motivated everybody to say, we're on board with this? We really think this is going to change our chapter and influence our community.
Well, I was dean 25 years ago for the first time. This is my second run at that particular office. And I noted that not much had changed in 25 years with regard to the way that we think about our members, or there had not been much conversation or awareness or initiative in finding new members or retaining old ones. So I would say that when I came into office, that I recognized that the laissez-faire attitude and outreach had really run its course, and that because we're all in aging chapters, there was a future decline that was just going to happen. And so at the same time, I've been around the city for a long time, and I know there are lots of organists who have in the past 5-7 years or even less joined the city as an organist, joined as an employee, but had never been even tracked or identified as an organist as a potential member for the organization, for the chapter. So that compelled me to think a little bit about, well, what can I do in my term? And so, as always, I'm a vision person. I think that that vision drives who we are, and if we find a way through solving a problem, we can develop a strategy to solve the problem, and then to seek support for implementation in the board. And so, when I gave a sort of a little address to the board and just shared my concern and the idea that there's something that we could do about it, and that sort of sparked some interest. And Ron and I have become great friends because he is a highly effective membership coordinator. One of the things that we did was we restructured the board. We have no members at large. Each former member at large has a portfolio of responsibilities, and that's where Ron came from. He is the membership coordinator. We also have an education hospitality coordinator. So they have specific tasks that are developed and coordinated for whatever the priorities of the board are at that time, specifically education and outreach and program.
So you got your board together and you assigned specific responsibilities. There were no more members at large. And then what prompted the conversation? So you said our membership is aging. I guess I remember you said to me you needed to know your members better. And you needed to take a look at your membership segmentation and who they were.
The moment of truth was when I asked the board, who do you know? Who is your go-to person to find more information about people? Whom do you know? And almost the entire board said, well, I really only know the people on the board. Mm-hmm. And that was a moment of a visual shock. I mean, people recognized what that meant, which is we don't know our own people. The thing that really propelled us, I should say, into this initiative is that Ron and I held a board focus group, a brainstorming session. And we asked significant questions that we identified, that the board identified what they thought was important. And we can go into that a little bit. We took all of those results and then we synthesized them into what has become this membership initiative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wonderful, amazing. So now I don't know if I'm moving ahead too far, but I would love, Ron, talk a little bit about this client visioning session, this focus group that you just held, and the segment that you targeted.
Yes. So in our work, well, let me backtrack a little bit to share that it's the foundation of the work comes through our wonderful Kirby, and who's Chris, what's his title?
He's the registrar.
He's the registrar. Okay. That's right. So, and Kirby is just, this is an important thing for any organization to go through if you're going to be in this process. And he's great at calling out specifically the demographics of our group and really finding information and talking to people about information and so to kind of find out where we are demographically as a group. And we also realized that we wanted, because most of us are on the, I hate to, say this, most of us are over 50 and a lot of us are over 60, and we're thinking about what is the future of the organization. We need to have a conversation with our younger people, the people that are the up and coming stars. They're already stars, actually, and they're more than up and coming. but they are the future of the Guild if there's going to be a Guild in another 20 years. And so we felt we wanted to really nail in and visit with these folks. So we had a luncheon, and again, I want to stress the importance of gathering people together for food. We gathered at Chris and Betsy's house and had an incredible lunch. And then we cleverly displayed the desserts and said, now after we have this focus session or visioning session together, we will have dessert. So there was an incentive for everybody to stay and go through the process. We had 7 or 8 marvelous, young, very talented and well-trained organists who were in the group, and we thought that there were some important questions that we wanted to ask them. And so the questions were questions like this. We started off with, how did you come to join the AGO? And we moved on to, what do you value about being a member? And what's one thing that you value about membership? And then what's one thing that you would change in the chapter if you were going to change something in the chapter? So there are 3 more questions that we covered as well that deal with, how does it feel to personally relate to other people in the chapter? And do you feel like you're personally connected with people?
Mm-hmm.
And where do you see yourself in the chapter and maybe in the future? And what does the future chapter look like? Questions like that really inspire a lot of vision. And in this process, we would ask a question and then just let them talk amongst each other for a minute or two, just to kind of throw around ideas. And we put up the chart paper and we started charting. So what we found out was really quite amazing. Are you interested in hearing some of the things?
Well, you said you found out the discovery of their needs, which you weren't prepared for at all, but that was very illuminating.
Yes. And that's key to the whole process, is if the Guild is going to have a future, if we are going to build an infrastructure of support into the Guild for all people, then we need to know what the specific needs are. And I think if there's a Guild chapter that's going down this road in the future, it's best to craft their plan around what their people say. I thought we got a really nice microcosm of what they would probably hear if they did this in their chapters. But
and I think I'm going to interrupt you and just say,
sure.
One thing that I think you did was so good was that you pulled members together face to face. I know, each year so many chapters do surveys. What did you like? What didn't you like? Do you have any suggestions? And if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. So the fact that you really took the initiative to get these young people together, whether it was, tantalizing them with a wonderful luncheon and then engaging them in conversation with the reward of a fabulous dessert afterward, whatever it was, you were able to really uncover what their needs were and what they wanted to see. And so to me, I think that is awesome. And I would suggest to many of our chapters that they consider doing this. So please continue.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
If I could insert a thing about this, which I think was that to go back, Kirby, the registrar, helped us to identify who these people are in our chapter. Many of them are new people, but they were in the regular and young organist categories, which means under 60, which means that they were about 50 and under, which was quite. So, but they did, what we recognized is that they did not know each other. And so it was important that we bring them face to face because they are the future of this chapter. They need to know each other. They need to like each other. They need to find their own relationships. And so our role as the patriarchs of the chapter, I guess we would say, was to just bring them together and stand back and let them make friends with each other and to encourage their initiative in a number of different ways to get together themselves without us being a part of it on a social basis before, after a recital or a meeting or just have breakfast. Several people said that they would never have met this person or that person, and they felt the potential for real supportive relationships that could develop over time.
And networking is a really important part. It's a really important part.
And a part of what came up was one of the suggestions was, well, could we do this again at your house because it was so good? And could you send us emails that are so warm and nurturing and inviting so that we can hear from you? And so we're going to send out the results to them and just keep in touch, because they really liked each other. They really found a lot in common. And when we asked them the question, what do you want the chapter to look like when you're 65? The look on the people's faces was awesome, because nobody has thought about being a member of anything that long a time. They're just trying to make it happen.
Right.
But the friendships that we are hoping to develop and nurture need to take off on their own. And that's the most important thing that we could do for this chapter. This is really passing the baton.
That's wonderful.
Often, I think our young people also feel like when they enter an organization like this, it is run by the old people, and you fall in line and you march along with the group. And as opposed to, wow, our opinions are now valued. People are actually listening to what we have to say. And the power of that was seen too in what they talked about regarding communication. And so we have a quite vibrant Facebook page, and there was a lot of busy work on that Facebook page following this meeting.
Right.
It's really fun to see how that aspect of it, the coming together face to face, as much as we like to say it's all about social media, in the bottom line is when they actually get to see each other in the same room and bounce ideas off each other, a lot of the shyness goes away. A lot of people that were otherwise very quiet and didn't say very much felt they were in a safe zone where they could really speak.
That's wonderful. So did they share what they thought the association was going to look like in 15 years?
Yes, they did. So yeah, they said the normalization of the organ to the general public and specifically to children. And I think this is so important because as I was sharing in my work at the university, I poll my students at the beginning of the semester on a number of things. And I asked, one of the questions I asked them is, how many of you have ever heard or seen a pipe organ? And out of a group of 120 students, there's 5 hands that go up. And you know, of course, San Diego is less of an organ environment than many other cities where it's more present, but it's still shocking. And so they were feeling like we need to find a way to build that, what we talked about earlier, build a fan base around people who might be interested in coming at least to hear the organ or to see it. Early organ education they felt was crucial to empower teachers beyond the current cultural and racial demographic, because our demographics tend to be very Anglo, and that there's a whole demographic possibility that we're not even tapping into, especially in San Diego County, where we have a very large Latina population. So that was important to them. Concerts and field trips, technology live streams, and recording workshops, and making sure workshops are available both in the flesh and online. They felt the future will look like that. Openness and transparency about all the business and everything that we're doing within our chapters. Building a community and being community oriented. They mentioned that, and anticipating changes in communication and cultural patterns. That was a big deal to them. So it was very exciting. Also, they were talking about how do we embrace and engage across all the other cultural and musical possibilities in San Diego County, you know, with the symphony and the opera and the theaters, and also with rock musicians. You know, how do they engage in that way?
I think that's so important. And I know some other chapters have started to talk about that, to look beyond the chapter walls, look beyond the AGO walls of your chapter and see who else is out there that shares your passion as a musician, who you can collaborate with and create with. So kudos to you and to them for discussing that and making it now something that you want to do. So next steps, what's come out of all of this as far as education? Are you working on 2021, or what have you planned for the rest of the year?
Well, the last event of our year, this year in May, is directly related to the outreach beyond at the the overflowing of an effective community into something other than the musical world. We have a member who is passionate about the Alzheimer's Association, and so he's creating a concert to benefit the Alzheimer's San Diego's Association. And it's going to be an every member effort. In other words, how we're going to talk about this is that we are people who have a passion for music who also are members of a larger community. And so if we look out the window the room that we live in as organists, there's a bigger world that needs help. And we have some power to do that. And we're hoping that this will draw people to a more mature understanding of what a community is, which is that we have shared values and we also have shared outreach events that will make an impact beyond just the musical community. So we are
everybody's going to get to know the AGO from that. I mean, it's
yeah.
You know, that's what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So that you've got that branding now, and people are going to want to see more concerts and more events and more collaboration.
Exactly. We also have, we are just now starting our program year. This is February, so we're just now starting the planning for the program year. But how we do program here is we have on the wall our three values: community, music, appreciation, and education. And so with each event, whatever is proposed, two of those values have to be a part of each event. So it might be food at a reception at a concert. It might be a benefit for something else with a concert alive, but it's always about community building, relationship building, and music and education. As a matter of fact, one of the things that the young people in our focus group asked for was what they called immersive experiences, which I've had some experience with. What they meant was we really want to have access to a master teacher that we could work with in a continuing education way for an ongoing period of time, not just a workshop. For instance, could we have a teacher work on continuo, which they would pay for themselves? Our role would not be to provide anything other than the connection with the teacher, and in doing so, make it possible for them to have experiences they could not have had on their own. I brought an improvisation teacher in for me and had 5 other people sign up for 5 days worth of lessons daily. And it was an exciting time for all 6 of us, including the teacher, who didn't expect to be so busy.
So we're going to learn more, I know, as the months progress about your immersive education, but it is definitely something that our chapters should be thinking about. Well, I can't believe how much we've covered in this leadership talk. Any last thoughts that you want to share, or thoughts about a year from now where you want to be?
I would just like to share that I feel it's imperative through all this work that we've done, through all the things that we've talked to our board and our membership about, that we all really have to be very active in getting the organ out there. And we can't be afraid to engage in social media with examples of our work. And when we were talking to the young organists, a lot of them said, well, very often we don't want to post clips of us playing something because we're, concerned about being judged by our peers. And then our conversation went into, well, wait a minute, then how will people know that there's even an organ in our town or in our church, or that we have a civic organ, if we're not getting it out there and not being afraid to do that? And not old people like me, but young people, people seeing people their own age playing in short video clips or whatever it happens to be. So we feel that that's really important, and we're working with Raul Prieto Ramirez right now, our civic organist, to do a program that is actually going to do that. It's going to get out into the community with the organ and allow people to see it, and to build some kind of fan base that will make sure that we are ensuring the future of the organ wherever it happens to be, whether it's in a civic hall or in a church, that it's a place that people will be familiar with and that they will want to hear.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. Speaking as a dean, I think that it may be perfectly obvious, but also something I hadn't thought about, which is really that the dean's role is to have a vision for what can be done, which is the purpose of these seminars, to have the vision and to communicate it as often as possible to as many people as possible, so that everybody catches the vision, and then to assist the board, especially the membership people in this case, to develop a strategy that limits what we can do realistically within the time that we have per term, per year, but to have a long-range strategy for ongoing development that can, through which many administrations can check the box that we have done this and we've.
You're building the foundation, which is wonderful. And the next step is to pass the baton on to someone else, keep it going. And I can't imagine, I think it's going to be wonderful 2 years down the road, 10 years down the road, to see how the AGO chapter of San Diego has flourished and sustained itself and grown. And I just want to say thank you so very, very much. This has been a wonderful leadership talk. And I think we might need to follow up with you a year from now just to see where you are so that you can update everyone.
We'll see you back here.
Okay, right. Thank you so much.